Wait, I thought Shane had been going over 3 months, without
Exactly.
having hookups, and now it's like
I
a, "Hey, I may not last." What are we
listen.
talking about?
I thought Shane was monogamous too. Just Ilya didn't know about it.
I
But we all
did too!
knew. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another Top 5 Heated Rivalry podcast. And this week, we are going to be talking about what are still some of the lingering questions that we have after the end of season one. Nicole,
Mhm, mhm.
this list is going to be interesting. Before we got on record, I was like, before we get record, me and Nicole was like talking about how these questions are going to be a little serious. I'm like, no, they're going to be fun. And she's like, there's nothing fun about this list.
I
But
said I didn't say that. I'm just looking at the ones that I'm, like, going through first, and I'm like, "Ain't nothing really funny about the 3 I'm
no,
gonna
I
discuss."
no. I- and I tend to agree, Nicole. When I look at that list again, I was like, yeah, she's right. But I was in a bubbly place. I was in a bubbly place just then. The sun was shining on me. Um, but
But
Nicole,
I
go ahead.
yeah, no, I just think, like, these are questions, like, we've watched season 1 so many times, and it's crazy to think that after 6 months, these questions are still the ones that really haven't been answered. We've seen other people ask it as well, and there's been some theories, but, like, we really truly don't have the answers. We wanted to take a moment to kind of reflect on season 1, go through some
Yeah.
of our own thoughts about what the answers could be, and then obviously we would love to hear from you all on what your answers are or
Mm-hmm.
theories are for some of the things that we still are
Yeah.
kind of like unknown for us.
Yeah. And to Nicole's point, this is us really just walking through this together with you because we don't have answers for these.
We have
Like, I don't
no
know.
answer.
I don't know what Jacob was thinking. I don't know what's going on in that man's. I would love to though.
I have no
Um,
idea.
none. So Nicole, let's get us started. What do we have kicking us off at the number 5 ranking?
Okay, so number 5. This is a question that I don't think has been answered in the show. Remember, we're going strictly off the show. What is Ilya's background? Did he grow up in wealth? Was he upper middle class in Russia? What does that mean in general? Like, what does it mean to be wealthy or upper middle class in Russia compared to
Yeah.
maybe Western parts of the world? Like, what is his true background? Because the thing is, when you're watching the show, there's kind of 2 dynamics at play, right? You have this one dynamic where he says his father's a police officer. And so it's also like when you see his father, he seems very high up the ranks of whatever that means in Russia. You see him wearing these like very official, I guess, like uniforms, and then he's
Military badges or
connected.
something.
Yeah, he's connected to very high up people in Russia. The way that even he I guess just like holds himself, quote unquote, in a way seems very official and like upper rank in some sort.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also see that in his connection with Svetlana, right? And her father. Like, that they in that episode 2 scene, that is not something that comes with your son just being like a really good professional rich hockey player. That is
Right.
obviously a status that has survived and has already lived within itself before these like last few
Mm-hmm.
years in hockey. So like what is that? Because on the other hand, what I was saying is that you have Alexei calling Ilya up for money and for like
Yeah.
large sums of money and to take care
Yeah.
of his father who seemingly would have his own wealth, it seems. So like
Yeah.
what
And
is that dynamic?
yeah, and looking at the house in which I assume that Ilya grew up in, when we do go back to Russia, it does not seem like a house where they were struggling for financially at any point. And to your point, he is someone that seems very high up in the ministry and is connected. Especially, we see him with Svetlana's father, who is someone who used to be a hockey player, is now high up in the ministry. And just the history of Svetlana and Ilya they seem to, and even Sasha to a degree, they seem to have navigated the same socioeconomic class,
Mhm.
and they both seem, Sasha and Svetlana both seem to be of the wealthier end of things. So yeah, it's really an interesting dynamic. But how does the Alexi of it all kind of fit into it, especially when he's calling Ilya up and asking for money? And this is a thing of just someone who blows the money that they have. Like people
Yeah.
who do have, they do have wealth to some degree, but they just blow it. And it did seem like maybe there was some cheating going on his, partner, and that could
Mhm.
contribute. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting because I think it really would inform how Ilya would move through the world, depending, what was his socioeconomical class in Russia. And I don't know how much, like, what part class systems play. I mean, I can imagine just how they play in the US, but what does that tell
Yeah.
us about Ilya as a person, whether he came from
Yeah.
wealth or didn't?
Yeah, because also you get from his Russian monologue that he's also taking care of his family, right? Like, he's talking about,
Yeah.
like, providing his family with the best clothes and, like, food and making sure they're okay, and it's like, "Okay, well, I'm very, very curious to know what was his life like before the, American hockey,
Mhm.
NHL, I guess, as we know it, because, yeah, you look at someone also like Svetlana, like, she's able to move to America and get a job at first where I don't know what she was doing, but then Ilya mentions in episode 4, right, that she started working at, like, the car dealership or selling
Yeah, selling
cars.
selling cars. I just assumed Svetlana
Yeah.
was a socialite, was a Russian socialite.
Hey.
That's how she moved. I'm like,
Well, it was also just having fun working because I mean, when I lived in New York and I was friends with someone who was, like, very wealthy to the point where she didn't know when we got paid, I was like,
mhm,
"Oh, she's working
mhm.
for fun," and that's how I thought Svetlana was, like, she's just kinda working,
Exactly.
everybody else is working. But I don't
Right.
know because they also don't live this life because the Ilya that we know from the first minute is someone who has a lot of money for a 18, 19, 20-year-old, we
Yeah.
we're never able to contextualize it in a way that's like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
he's just always had money to us and always been a
Yeah.
privilege
Yeah.
to us. So it's
Yeah.
hard to really get a clear understanding. So we would love to know
Yeah.
if y'all know because
We
I
don't,
have
we don't.
no
And
clue. I go back and forth
and
a lot.
also yeah, and also his relationship to money. I mean, it's not something that's heavily focused on in the show, but just it does not seem like money is something that's coveted or money or something that's ever worried about, except, when we
Mhm.
get to those early seasons where, he's speaking to Alexi, he's like, you snorted up my bonus. I don't have anything left.
Yep.
But I don't
Yep.
know. It could, is it an instance of where their father's just like, yeah, this is my money and y'all are adults now, so you have to figure it out for yourself. Um,
I mean,
and how does
knowing
that work?
knowing the dad, it could be that. Let's
Fend for
just be clear.
yourselves. Like, since they were 10, since they were children?
Yeah, let's just be clear, it could be that, and
Terrible.
even the other thing I have a question on because I haven't ever looked this up with watching the show, it's like, yes, Ilya's been really good at hockey, but, like, hockey is not a poor man's sport. I don't know if it's the same in Russia, but in the
Yeah.
US and in Canada, like,
It's
hockey is
not,
not like playing soccer on the street, like, you have to have a lot of money and
not what that
investment in
equipment
it.
cost.
So I would imagine it might be the same thing as in
Yeah.
Russia. So it's like, okay, even playing hockey at that level is like maybe a privilege of some sort in Russia. I don't know. I'm not speaking that for fact, but I would
Yeah,
imagine not everybody's playing hockey in Russia the same way.
I agree.
And so yeah, like what is what is his
Somebody let
background,
us know
y'all?
what y'all think. Somebody tell us if you got an
Please, we want
idea.
theories in the comments, please. But until we do, Tyra, what is our number 4 question from season 1 of Heated Rivalry?
So our number 4 question is, what exactly happened during the 2 years of texting? So we get a little bit of background. We see what some of the texts Ilya is sending to Shane, the innuendo of it all. He's trying to get in Shane's pants. Who wouldn't? But really, like, what else is going on within their dynamic within those 2 years? Because we know that they're still playing against each other. We know that they're still going to events and award ceremonies. Like, are they communicating with each other outside of these text messages? Um, just what is the play like on the ice? Just why did none of that off ice communication or talking in person ever initiate a spark them hooking up sooner than 2 years?
Mhm.
There's a plethora of questions surrounding this because this really, I think, was one of the top questions that we had early on when we saw episode two. Because it's just like, what's happening? I mean, episode one, like what's happening within
Mhm.
your dynamic? Because you know, how did we get here? How did we get here after,
Yeah.
you see the missed hookup when the game is canceled? And how do we get from there to then just the 2 years of texting and Ilya like really pushing and persisting and pursuing Shane and
Mhm.
Shane trying to kind of coyly like playing into it, but not playing into it. I'm confused, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we all are confused. I think, and I was talking to you about this off camera or whatever,
Mm,
that it's not like they haven't seen each other, right? Like, after the snowstorm happens, when they were supposed to originally have penetrative sex and it didn't happen, we still see them see each other at the Rookie of the Year, end of year awards thing in Vegas, and it's like, it didn't come up then, and then we spend, yeah, the next 2 years of just, like, texting and Ilya leading him not leading him on, but, like, hitting on him and trying to make it
yeah,
happen, and Shane just, like, not wanting it to, and it could be a simple thing of, like, "You've given me too much time to think about it, and now I'm second guessing everything," or, like, "I don't want it to happen," or, like, "I'm nervous," or whatever it is. But
yeah.
also it is, the show does such a good job of pushing time along that sometimes you forget how long of a time period you're actually watching. And when you really step outside of yourself and think about you as a person in June 2024, and
Hmm.
like that being the amount of time to when you would decide to like be intimate with someone today,
Yes.
that is the amount of like only text communication that you're having and then maybe seeing each other, yeah, in person, like playing a hockey game, like, that is so
That's
crazy.
wild.
Like, it's
Especially when
wild.
especially when you're in your early 20s. Like, the amount of,
Correct.
like, information that I am, like, just downloading when I'm in my 20s and forgetting, like, discarding is a lot, it's innumerable, and yeah, it's just weird because they do still see each other off the
They see
ice.
each
Like
other.
they have these other instances where they see each other,
And
where they are still like the top two players in the sport. So their names
correct.
are always linked together. And I'm just curious. And also just what are the other text messages that we didn't see? Is
Yeah,
it
I've always
always just
wondered that.
Ilya persisting and pursuing with, like, sexual innuendo? Are they, like, at any point getting to know each other? I mean, I guess not because we get to episode 4 and,
And
it
they're
seems like
asking
they're the
some
first time they're ever
basic
talking about
questions. Yeah.
they're even just talking about hockey, like,
I know,
their
I
job.
know, I know.
So I guess not, but it's just like, how do you keep that going for
For
2
2 years, and
years
also just, like,
subsisting?
how yeah, what was the bigger question is also what was happening in their lives in those 2 years? Like, who else were they talking to or hooking up with or having relationships with or, like, what kept them coming back to each other? Like, what especially with Ilya, who we know to be someone who, like, is out
Mhm.
here in these Boston streets at this
Period.
point, like like, what is bringing him back to Shane? And then also because it's not like if you or I were to have a fling with someone and then we only kinda see them sparingly, it's like, y'all are in the news, y'all are in each other's
All the
worlds
time.
and lives,
They're
like, you can't
linked.
escape it. So,
You
like,
can. So
2 years?
so you would think the forced proximity of that would push them further along quicker, like the
Correct,
timeline would be sped
correct.
up because of that. Now, if you say people who live in 2 different states or you live in 2 different countries or something like that, that's completely
Yeah,
different.
yeah,
But these are people who the proximity is forced and they are constantly around or orbiting each other, and yet it still lasted 2 years. Like Shane playing the game with Ilya and Ilya playing the game with Shane and neither one of them being just like, "Yeah, I'm done with this."
Mhm.
I'm done with this. And I guess that tells a greater story.
Well,
Um,
and the bigger question too is Shane up until that point had never really, like, ignored Ilya in that way, like, even I mean, I know they just had each other's number at the All-Star game, but before those 2-year periods where he, like, is the one always kinda ending the conversation, he never really was that before. Like,
yeah,
like, he was giving the apartment number, he was giving the hotel number, and then when Ilya was giving his, like, 1, 2, 2, 1, he, like, came, and then it
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, there was always, like, advancements happening, and all of a sudden, it's just, like, a stall for 2 years. That's
Mhm,
it's just like,
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Cause it didn't seem like the Vegas, like, rooftop blow up was that big of a thing that we are
no,
going back and forth with each other in this way.
no.
It's odd, but again, I'm not a man, so there it could be some of that as well.
Yeah,
I don't
and I'm
know.
and I'm not Jacob Tierney who made
And
that
I'm
call.
not. And I'm another man.
Yeah. I actually would yeah, I mean, and I understood, I think he said somewhere that it was like we couldn't have everything happen in episode 1, and I completely agree with that, but the 2-year thing was an interesting choice and one that, like, I think about often. I think about often.
Same, same, same. So, on that, with other things we think about often, what do we have at the number 3 ranking?
Oh, well, the number 3, we have when exactly did Svetlana clock that it was Shane who was Jane? Because we know, obviously, that at the end of episode 5, she's clocked it. Like, she mentions, "I hope he knows how lucky he is to be with you." And
Yeah.
we even see before then that she's, like, making certain, alluding to Shane here or there with Ilya, or
Yeah.
asking him questions about him just in a way to see how he would answer. But there's really no clear telltale, like, scene or moment where they show her being like, "Oh, it's Shane," or like,
Mhm.
"Oh, what's going on with Shane and Ilya," kinda thing. It's just kinda, like,
Yeah. The little
happened, I
moments.
feel like, in
Mhm.
maybe what was it? Episode 4 after the montage? It was like,
4.
yeah, in the car where she's like,
Mhm.
Jane," or whatever.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't even know, and my question is like, is that the moment where she knew Jane was Shane? Was it when he was watching the documentary? Because by then, I definitely think that she knew, in my personal
Mhm.
opinion, that, like,
Yeah.
Shane was something, like, was like, Ilya doesn't just sit around watching hockey documentaries and other players for nothing.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm. Yeah,
but they
he
don't
certainly
tell us.
does.
Right, like, but they just don't it's something that we're having to kinda piece together ourselves, and I've even seen online sometimes people are like, "I don't know if she knows," kinda thing, and so it's like,
Oh, she knows.
yeah,
She
I think
knows.
she definitely
She knows.
knows. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
for sure.
And yeah, to your point, we're having to piece it together like she's having to piece it together. And I think the beautiful thing about Svetlana and Ilya's relationship is their shared history. So, there are certain context clues that Ilya will give that only someone like Svetlana can pick up, So when we see in episode 2 in Russia, she knows about Sasha. Okay. So we know Ilya is bisexual. Um, and we know that, I can imagine their history. They spend every summer together that he has mentioned Shane or she has mentioned Shane and she can just kind of pick up on these tells. And I just love how it's crumbed out to us because it's breadcrumbed out to Svetlana in that same way. But yeah, I can't pinpoint when she clocked
Choose
him.
okay, just choose a moment, just to
But wait, I'm going to.
yeah, yeah.
I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but I definitely think she clocks it's Shane probably somewhere even before episode 4 because you really got to know someone to know they would be dumb enough to interchange Shane and Jane. You got to know your friends. You really got to know your friends. And I know she was sitting there looking at that text message and going back in her head thinking about all the times he like mentioned Shane or anytime she mentioned Shane and there was like a flicker of his face or something. And she's like,
Mm.
my fool friend who thought that Jane was a good interchangeable name for Shane to hide their secret relationship. Which is why she gives him these look like, bitch, are you serious? Because are you serious? Like, you can try to pretend and hide from everyone else, but you can't hide from me, not someone who's known you since a child. Um, but I definitely think she probably clocked it before episode 4, in that in between period between 2 and 4. Um, and that is just confirmed. Everything we see in episode 4 and 5 just confirms it for her. This idea that she's already had about who Jane is and what Jane means to Ilya.
Mhm,
But yeah, that it's really shows their like history and how much they know each other, which I kind of love.
mhm, mhm. Um, I would say if I were to ask myself what the place that I think that she clocked him with Shane, I would say it maybe started with in the for me, the episode 4 montage where she starts observing him being a little bit, like, more distant in public and in clubs and, like, checking his phone and just being a little bit more disassociated and disconnected. Um, at least in my mind, that's where she puts the pieces together. I feel like before, she may have been like, "Okay, Jane is someone he's obviously being private and secret about because he's never brought her up, but, like, I see him texting her all the time, yeah, and I saw it for the first time in what was that, episode 1, after the All-Star game, but it's been at this point, what, like, 4 years or something and she's never actually been verbally brought up by him, and I think that that is interesting because that's not who Ilya is, and Ilya doesn't just text one girl for years unless like, I've never seen him do that ever, like, what is this?
Yeah.
So that would maybe be the moment in my head if I were to have to choose, it would be then, because
Mm.
then moving on from that moment in episode 4, she's, like, kinda pushing him a little bit or questioning it or, like, seeing him I mean,
Mhm.
the moment she sees him watching that documentary, she's like, "Oh, I got him." Like, this is it.
She
Like
yeah, she knew. And also, I mean, they are always in close proximity. So, you're reading some text message over someone's shoulder and he's talking about somebody's asshole, but also talking about them playing a game and on the ice. I mean, I think it could have been any of the times that they've shared, over the summer. Um, that's why I think, she could have clocked him at any point, to be honest, because they spend so much time with each other. That is his person in both America and in Russia when he goes back home. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. She had ample opportunity to clock him. Like, it's not like they're coding any of these text messages either, which is crazy.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
I'm just like, anybody could see what y'all are writing.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. What is our number 2 question, Tyra?
Our number 2 question is, why in the hell did Ilya go down to that gym in episode 1?
Mm.
This question has plagued me since I saw it. Well, I that's, a little hyperbole. Not since I saw it, but since
Yeah,
I've, like, gone through the season,
yeah.
um, and gotten to know Ilya as a character because it just seems so out of character for him. Like, he is not Shane. Exercising and working out pent off energy and aggression is not really his thing. He works out to do a job, to do his job. But we know Ilya finds his release in sexual gratification or going out, just like something to like clear his mind and numb himself or whatever he's feeling. Um, so what brought him to the gym that night? Literally, I have no clue, guys. I have no answer for this because it's just not part of Ilya's character, in my opinion.
Mm,
And I'm like, besides me saying it's something divine, like he was just meant to go down there at that point in time, which I mean, sure. We could go with that, but I don't know. Nicole, do you
mm.
have an answer for this? Because I truly don't.
I don't have an answer, I have a theory, and I think I mean, obviously, it was, like, the reason why we're asking this is because it's the divine timing of it all, like, Shane was also down there at the same time in the middle of the night, like, it's 2 or
Mhm.
3 AM, let's just say, I mean, it's late. Um, I I think it had something to do with the pressure of his dad being in Boston, or not Boston, sorry, wherever, I forget. Was this Vegas or LA? Where was
This
his
was
draft?
this was
LA?
LA. It
Yes.
was LA.
I think, to me, it had something to do with his dad. I think, um yeah, I agree. An everyday Ilya situation, he's not going down to that gym in the middle after
Mhm.
midnight or the
Yeah,
night.
and
But I do
yeah.
think but I do think that, the pressure of his dad being there, we saw the scene where he called him lazy, and, like, there was no celebration to be had about him going number 1 in the draft, which is really unfortunate for Ilya. That I think there was a lot of just, like, added pressure on him that he in other scenarios could, like, easily ignore or, cope with in a different way, but because the, like, catalyst of his main issues was with him in that city, that he was going there almost to, like, prove that he wasn't what his father was saying he was. Like, if I were to come up with any theory, that would be my theory as to why he went to the gym at that moment in time, given
Mm,
everything that was on him at
interesting.
that moment.
Yeah, I'd agree for the catalyst of, like, what kept him up at night. I think the same reason very much, the pressure of his father, the expectation of all of that, still not feeling like enough, and also, choosing a path that would lead him away from Russia and knowing how his father viewed that decision. Um, but I still really wrestle with why instead of, going out or something. And I guess to your point, there could be a degree of just like when you feel like, you've gotten to this point and it's still not good enough for this person, you need to do something to work harder at it. So maybe the gym was a refuge in that moment of just like, okay, I'll try to be better. I'll try to work harder. Um, but yeah, it's so interesting because Ilya loses himself in women or sex or partying, until Shane becomes, like, the center of his world, and then he loses himself in him. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm really excited to see what your guys' thoughts are on this one because ain't never had a good answer for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in some way too, if I were to, like, think about it, I think Ilya was also just as shocked that he went number 1 as, like, Shane was. Or, like,
Mm,
because I think we talked about this off camera, Tyra, that, like, in real life and most sports, you could, a really good player can lose something, and that if they're as good as they are, that doesn't really hinder them from going number 1. Like, LeBron could have lost his high school championship game. He's still going number 1. Like, that's freaking LeBron James. But,
right.
it's like, I think, yeah, Shane not going number 1 was shocking, I think. But I think in general, I think Ilya going number 1 was never in the cards, and I think his dad, you can tell, is kinda, like, never, I guess, to me, um, the thing that, like, Ilya has always gone back to Russia and been, like, the partier or gone out or lost himself in women or whatever, but I do think that his dad having, like, a place in America right now with him is what threw him off a bit. Like, I don't think that he's, like, the Ilya who would lose himself in, like, the partying and, like, all of those things because the the biggest pressure that he feels that where he gets away with that stuff, right? Like, he goes to the women and the sex and the partying to get his mind off of the thing that, like, he really can't shake because the dad's in, like, the hotel room next door or wherever he is. And
Mm,
so I do feel like if his dad maybe wouldn't have said the lazy bit of it, maybe he wouldn't go down to the gym and try to prove that wrong. But I think that lazy comment, and we know obviously plays true to Ilya in the sense of like it hits him really hard because we see years later he brings it up to Shane. And like so obviously that comment to me had a lot. of effect on him, which would then maybe push him to go to the gym in the middle of the night to, like,
Right.
try to just
Yeah.
prove to himself that what his dad said to him in that moment isn't true.
Yeah. I agree.
Mhm.
I agree. But we shall see what the people say in the comments. I am excited. So with that number, Nicole, what do we have at our top ranked spot?
So what we have as our top question is, what is the show trying to tell us about Shane's sexual history? So, we talked about this a little bit in our book episode and just how we wished that maybe they would have explored this a little bit more because they did in the book. But if we were just look at the show by itself, right? It's very confusing for a viewer, at least to me, even with
Yeah.
my book knowledge thrown out the window, what it is they're trying to tell us because they give us a little hints on, like, Hayden asking about Jessica, a girl he used
Mhm.
to date, and then, we have, like, the bartender flirting with Shane at, in episode 4, before he meets Rose. And then in episode 6, you have um, Shane telling Ilya straight up that, like, "Oh, hey, I'm not gonna last long because it's been a while since I've had sex." Oh, has this never happened in the past 10 years? Like, and then you
Who else
have
are you sleeping
Ilya.
with?
I mean, that was the first question I had, and then you have Ilya, um, joking with Shane about, like, "Hey, you don't just come out to your parents, you don't have to tell them every guy you're fucking." And so I'm just like, "So wait, is Shane having sex with other men in this show, or is he not?" Like, and
Girl,
I
is
don't know the answer.
is Shane having sex with anybody that's not named Ilya and Rose, like, in this whole show? Because it's
I don't
confusing as hell.
no, I'm genuine when he said that line to Ilya, literally, "Hey, it's been a while." Mind you, it's been, like, 3 months.
Yeah.
So, what does that mean in the past 10 years? And when he hasn't been hooking up with Ilya, has he been hooking up with other people?
Yeah, it's also strange too because Ilya not having anything to say about Shane's comment about, he's been celibate for a few months is just like, well, who else are you sleeping with, Shane? Because
What I'm
I just,
saying.
what are Ilya's thoughts? Because he only ever shows jealousy towards Rose, right? Because he knows that he's fucked Rose, and we know as the audience member that he's fucked Rose. But like, what are Ilya's thoughts? Like, I feel like Ilya's on the same accord with us. Like, I don't think Shane's sleeping with anybody. And again, like, what is the story trying to tell us? We hear Hayden talk about someone named Jessica who we never see. We never hear Shane talk about it. And all the time since he's been drafted, he's been a rookie, he's been playing in the MLH. Like, who is
Never.
Jessica? Who is she? Um, it's crazy. It's just it
No, it's
makes no
crazy.
sense. Is it and,
And
and
it
are we supposed to think that like Ilya was I mean, I guess to a degree, Ilya is his gay awakening, but just like he's been sleeping with women up until that point and no exclusively women, and Ilya was the outlier, like he had never been attracted to men. I have questions.
No, this is
Multiple.
the thing, like, and there's no answer to it. And I remember Jessica maybe from, like, the book. Like, I think I remember her
Yes,
from the
a
actual book, but
girlfriend.
everything
Yep.
else, like that when Hayden mentioned her, I was like, "Alright, y'all are just including her because she was in the book, and, like, we don't know this part of Shane, but
Yeah.
whatever. Him having a girlfriend makes sense, cool." It was really the line that he proactively said to Ilya about him, "Well, wait. Like, it had been 12 years since they had hooked up." You know what I mean? Like, y'all just hooked up 3 months ago, so it's very confusing for the viewer to be like, "Wait, I thought Shane had been going over 3 months, without
Exactly.
having hookups, and now it's like
I
a, 'Hey, I may not last'? What are
listen.
we talking about?"
I thought Shane was monogamous too. Just Ilya didn't know about it.
I
I
did
thought we all
too!
knew. I thought we all knew what was happening. Shane said, "I'm a monogamous person, okay?"
I legit thought, okay, yeah, maybe at the very least, yeah, he may have hooked up here or there in their early years, when they were, like,
Yeah,
young and,
yeah.
like, first couple, but closer to the 2016, 2017, unless it was showing
Yeah.
on my screen, I'm thinking he's just playing hockey and sleeping.
That's
Right.
it.
So
I
I'm
mean,
confused.
we get multiple montages of like Ilya out in these streets and Shane in bed reading a book. I mean, I didn't see no woman in his bed. I didn't see a man in his bed. I saw no one but him in a
And
book.
and and not only that, Tyra, like, the very least they could have done is very similar to what they did in episode 4, where that fine-ass bartender who didn't give him
Ooh,
derail, you could see
mm,
that Shane, there was a little bit of, like, "I find him
it
attractive."
was.
They never
Yeah.
even hinted at Shane, like, looking at another guy or even girl or whatever
Yes.
in the beginning
Yes.
episodes, so it was very confusing when he's stopping them hooking up to be like, "I need to tell you. I need to tell you straight up, it's been a while."
Really, really.
What?
They could have leaned into it where he got Rose's number that night. He got that fine ass bartender number that night. Listen, Shane had options. He said, "I got options, y'all."
Or if they were
Uh,
gonna have him do that, then that's when the conversation from the book should have came up, where Ilya's like, "Oh,
yeah,
so you've been hooking up." Because without
exactly.
that and I wanna give Jacob, credit here or yeah, credit because I do know that, like, they did not know the show was gonna be as mainstream as it was. So, like, they were
Yeah,
making a lot of this for people who knew the book and had the context.
and
And
love the book. Yeah.
so yeah,
Hmm.
sadly not sadly, but unfortunately for them, this is, like,
Yeah.
entered the mainstream where people are gonna have questions about, like, "Why does Shane say that?"
And like having questions as people who have read the books,
Yeah, I've read the book.
right?
I've
Like
read the book.
we still have questions.
I still
Like,
don't
why was
understand.
that omitted? We want
It's
to see it.
so confusing, and then, like, yeah, Ilya even being like, "Your parents don't have to know every guy that you're fucking," kinda thing, and it's
Exactly, because
like,
I want to see that list if there is one. What's the list? I
well,
know Ilya want to see it.
Il Ilya clearly has it. Like,
Right.
it's like
He's the only one who's got it. We as the audience do not have it.
so
Okay. And we'll never get it.
it was so confusing. Those 2 lines were confusing because Ilya wasn't caught off guard by them, but we
Yeah.
were. So, like,
Yeah.
what do y'all think? I don't know.
Would love to know. Love to know because they just
It's
they really told us Shane may or may not have a past. You decide.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
yeah.
choose your own adventure.
You choose your path.
Guess I love that for us. Let me make up my own backstory.
Look,
Jacob
listen.
said, "I've done enough, y'all." You
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
Jacob.
yeah.
You've done enough,
No,
sir.
actually, Jacob, you did your big
You've
one,
done more than enough.
but I would love for someone to interview Jacob and ask this specific question because even if he isn't
Yeah.
gonna give a definitive answer, he wrote the script, so he obviously
Yes.
had some reason
Yeah.
why he included it. Like, I just need to
Yeah.
know why.
Yeah.
Jacob, please,
Maybe we'll
please.
get in his book. Maybe we'll get in his book that comes out
Yeah.
later this year.
Hope
We'll
you
see.
guys bought a copy. I
I
did.
did.
I did.
I did too.
I'm excited. I'm very excited about that actually, so we'll see. Okay.
Okay, so now we're back to it. Honorable mentions.
Honorable mention, Tyra. What's your honorable mention?
So my question is, why was Shane, the Shane Hollander, the golden boy, Canada's son, chosen number 2 in the draft? I, you know, Nicole mentioned it earlier. We talked about the stakes that you put in when you
Mhm.
are drafting a player for the future, for now and for the future, and also the
Mm.
marketability of that player as well. Like
Say it.
Shane is not
Say
just a
it.
player, he's a commodity, right? Um,
Commodity.
and like if I'm gonna hang my franchise on someone, is going to be Shane Hollander because he is the more marketable of the 2, right? As we see with all of his damn, adverts and commercials that Una gets for him. That man, you can't turn the TV without seeing him in a commercial ad. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting. And I think, I mean, I guess part of the reason you can think about as being a franchise, and one being Canadian and Shane maybe fitting more of that one, and then an American team maybe being more brash and that fitting with Ilya, but still, I don't care which one I am. If I got the number 1 choice, I'm picking Shane just because Shane does
Ooh.
become the face of the league. No, just because Shane becomes the face of the league. Um,
Mm.
and somebody said he was the best player in the MLH. Imma let y'all figure that out who said it. Maybe we'll see
Yeah.
it in season 2.
Mhm.
But, he is the bankable one, I would think, right? I don't understand how he got
Girl,
picked, how he dropped to number 2 in the draft.
here's my thing. I know it's for the dramatics of it all, but as someone, as we both watch sports,
Yep.
one game never defines the
No.
legacy
No.
of a franchise, just like prodigy, like player of a generation. And
Yes.
that is what Shane is. And yes, Ilya is up there with him. Don't get me wrong, Ilya is a
Yes.
phenomenal player. Phenomenal, amazing. But it is interesting that what the show leads us to believe is that just because Russia beat Canada in that one moment, that
Right.
Shane would not be selected first by a team that both teams, which we learn, haven't really won a lot recently.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
and I definitely, to your point, understand that, like, sometimes with teams, you're like, well, I actually need this kind of player. So I'm
Yeah.
going to choose that player, or I need a center. So I'm not going to choose a point guard, whatever it is. But the thing
Yeah.
is, they both play center.
They do. They both play
And
center.
so it's like they have the same job. I guess the only thing you
Yep.
could say is that, like, yes, Ilya can also play. What is it? Wing? Is that what they call it in
Wing.
hockey?
Yep.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
He plays wing.
Clearly I don't watch. So he can do both, right? So I get it if you really want, if Boston said that, whatever, and you hear the Boston owner say like, "Oh, there's no way we would pass up with this fast hands," because yes, Ilya is known as the faster,
Faster. Yep.
whatever, but like Shane is the overall better player. But because Shane is the overall better player, um, a franchise owner would be it's one thing to choose Ilya, but I think where they do a disservice a little bit to Shane is that then the next storyline isn't that Boston didn't choose Shane, because that's
Yeah.
the story in itself in real life. It's like, okay,
Yes.
we get why you chose Ilya. He's fast. He's versatile. Like he's whatever 1, 2, 3 ABC. But then like you
Yep.
pass up the Shane Hollander. That's
Exactly.
crazy. Like that should also equally be a storyline.
It should, and it's
Whatever.
not, and I would love to, like, know the Rachel's take on this as someone who she's a really big hockey fan, like, what are your thoughts of, like what was your thought process when you made that call to make Shane the number 2 player? Is it just for the dramatics of the story? Because it does, I mean, it's a good narrative,
It is.
um but, we are talking realistics to your point, just you're not just building a franchise off of, you know, whether this player is actually the best player because they are so good as kind of apples and oranges, right? It's the X
Yeah.
factor of
Yeah.
it, of what they bring to a team. And especially with Ilya's reputation coming into the league at that point, someone who is not,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
not great, on the ice sometimes, right? But Shane is someone who is highest hockey IQ and like generational talent and the smartest player in the
Mhm.
league, which is like these are lofty claims that
That
people, the
they
narrative
made,
that's
by the
surrounding him,
way.
exactly, that they made the
They
narrative
told
surrounding him.
me.
Exactly. I didn't say that because I would know that.
Y'all told me
Um,
that.
exactly. But yeah, it's just so interesting. I was just like, there's no way y'all taking
Yeah.
Shea Hollander number 2. Love Ilya Rosanov down. Would definitely take it with my
Down.
second pick.
Down.
But I'm banking my money on who's going to be the face of hockey, especially hockey being so big in Canada as well. Just that alone.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting, and of course, this isn't a hockey show, and I have to remind myself of that because, as Tyler knows, I wanna
Girl,
see more I want Shane Hollander, the hockey guy, like, I want it to be on the
you do. Jock Shane.
oh,
Yeah.
I want Jock Shane so bad in season 2. Please, God. And I mean, by God, I mean Jacob Tierney. Make this but I love it, but also at the same time, like, I do think that it is strange because as we see throughout the season, Shane created a dynasty. I mean, he won
He
back to
did.
back.
That is hard to do in any sport, and hard to do in hockey. That's insane. That's
Yeah,
crazy. And
yeah,
it's like, Boston, did y'all ever think about that and be like, "Damn, I coulda had that?" Especially to know that Ilya
had
also is
that.
like deuces to y'all as soon as Shane gives them
God.
the go ahead.
Oh my
Baby,
god.
I know they up there licking their wounds. He said,
He
"Bye."
literally said
No, he said, "Listen, I got loyalty to one thing, and that's Shane Hollander, not to
he
y'all."
said he said
Bye-bye.
He said, "My loyalty is this face." And it's to
Exactly.
y'all,
Listen,
and
baby,
that's what
call that
y'all
Helen of
get,
Troy, okay? Call
and
that
that's what
Helen of
y'all
Troy.
get.
And that's what y'all get. Played yourself.
Y'all
Played
play yourself.
yourself.
'Cause
Listen.
this, he should be kissing, he should be kissing Marlo, did you hear me, y'all?
Marlo. There
Oh,
you go, girl. There you go.
he should be kissing Marlo, but he's kissing Shane Hollander, and
He
that's
is.
on y'all's fault. That's not on us.
It's not. It's
Sorry.
not. Listen, this is probably the most hockey we have ever talked in this show.
Look, jerseys, helmets,
Baby, helmets. It's a hockey show, y'all. Know.
pucks, we got it.
Pucks.
Um,
Okay, Nicole, what is your honorable mention?
my honorable mention is let's all go to the cottage together, episode 6, all right? Shane is cooking them burgers, too many, even though I feel like 2 hockey players could eat them, but they are sitting down eating these burgers and having conversations. And then at the end, I've always wondered, and I would love to know people's thoughts because I'm sure people have them, where Ilya's head was at the end of the burger scene when, you see him kind of reach over to Shane and he's touching
Yep.
him, trying, they're talking about coming out to his parents and like would they care if he was gay? And then Shane being like, well, it'd probably be easier if like you weren't you. And yeah, then Ilya's like, well, as to what you talked about earlier, like, you know, do they have to know everybody you're fucking kind of thing? And then you can see that Shane isn't, like, super amused by it, and he's just like, "Well, it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter, like, are you done?" And gets up, and then there's a shot, obviously intentionally on Ilya's hand, where he moves it off of Shane's, like, leg, and then
Yeah.
they pan to Ilya's face, and he kinda does, like, that sniffle nose thing that he does sometimes where he's, like, uncomfortable or not
Mhm.
feeling incredibly, like, safe, and then just kinda looks out at the lake, and I've just
Yeah.
always wanted to know, like, what is he thinking about then? Like, what was the intention of that scene? Because obviously, we were supposed to see that. We didn't see Shane walk off. We didn't see what Shane's thoughts were as he was walking back into the kitchen in the cottage. We were meant to see Ilya at that moment. And I've just always wondered like what and why, like what was the purpose of that?
Yeah.
Like was it to show the insecurities of Ilya at that point because again, they weren't communicating really and on the same page. So maybe, like, Ilya's feeling a lot more in that moment than he's letting on to
Yeah.
Shane, and we're seeing the after effects of that, or is it his insecurities because Shane's basically like, "It doesn't matter," and maybe that piece hurt him a little bit, or
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I have, like,
Yeah.
3, 4 different things in my brain about what
I
that could
and I and
be.
I think they all could be I think they all could be right. I think it's kind of a culmination of a bunch of different things. Um, because that's the first time that you really feel since he's been in the cottage that they've lost some kind of connection and the emotional intimacy has been kind of halted in a
Yeah.
way.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess it's also too like Shane's cavalier way of saying like it just doesn't matter. And Ilya's like, that's the only thing that matters. Like that your family
Yeah.
likes me, that you can find space for me in your life.
Yeah.
Because I want to make space for you in mine. And I guess it
Mhm.
also could be, the point of Ilya is just like how serious is this for Shane? They
Yeah.
both are constantly, like, going through this entire time of, like, "Is this serious for him? Is this a serious for me?" Um,
Mhm.
and,
Mhm.
I mean, I would as if I was Illy, I would kinda feel that way a little bit too, like, with that comment of just, like, "You getting to know more about my family, like, that kind of doesn't matter. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
like, how they're gonna react about any of this. None of that matters." And I would be like, "Huh?" I'm here at your cottage in Ottawa, after we have, like, gotten closer than we've ever been, and not you don't think any of this matters? It's the only thing that kind of matters. But yeah,
I know.
I think it's a culmination of a bunch of things. To your point, Ilya's insecurity. I mean, constantly afraid
Yeah,
of someone leaving him,
or not feeling
and
worthy enough to, like,
not
even
feeling
be
worthy
acknowledged
enough.
in that way.
Exactly, and then for Shane to get up,
I
to get up and
know.
just leave the table at that point, just
And
those thoughts are replaying in your head.
it's very, like, it just shows her miscommunication at that point too because
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
mad about the same thing. Because like,
Yeah,
Shane is so frustrated because he's like, "All I wanna do is tell my parents about you. I don't even wanna come
yep,
out as gay to my parents if it doesn't involve you because
right.
this is, like, why I just, like, I'm so in love with you, like, I don't there's no reason for me to even approach the situation, my sexuality, if you're not in it," and it
Yep,
frustrates me so much that I gotta get up and, like, go deal with something else, and then,
yeah.
Ilya feels the same way where he's like, "Well, I also, like, wanna meet your parents, and I'm obviously here trying to ask about David and Yuna, and you didn't
It's
have
a
Jack
big
and
part of
Leith,
your
and,
life.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, the New Yorker, and, like, I'm, like, probing more because, like, I wanna be part of your life too, but, like, I need you to admit that to me because I don't
Mhm,
know if you also want that, and so it's like,
mhm.
yeah, it might just be, like, a miscommunication
Yeah,
situation,
yeah, yeah,
obviously, but it sucked to see him in that situation because it was like, ugh, like, you could just tell that, like, he wanted more so bad, but he can't voice it because of a lot of, yeah, the things he's
mhm,
experienced in his past and, like,
mhm,
afraid of the
mhm.
rejection of it all. But it
Yeah,
also was just like I mean, I think Jacob did a really good job in the cottage to kind of allude to some of these, like, alienisms that we'll get to maybe know a little bit more about maybe next
yeah.
season. But I do feel like that moment in time specifically, it was like it happened and then it kinda went away, but then
Mhm.
also you can tell that, like, I'm
Yeah.
I guess I'm really glad for all of us that we had that big payout at the end where he does eventually meet his parents and, like,
Mhm,
offers
mhm,
to go
mhm.
over there
Yeah,
because it's all pretty
yeah.
much that scene was trying to get to, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of does inform. We talked about their lack of communication, extensively, because it just is something that's a recurring thing, especially when we're getting to season 2. But this is just like one of the many cuts that they each give to each other that they kind of file away and just it's compounded. Like these are little things that compound into one big problem.
Mhm.
Because we see the same when we get in episode 2 when Shane is in the bathroom scene and it's just like yeah, I wanna ask her more. You were gone out of my life for 6 months. I wanted nothing more than for you to be there, and you
Yeah,
weren't.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's the same thing. It's the same thing with this, and I'm just like, both of them have this learned shared history of this lack of communication and the damage that it does, the small damage that it does to how they interact and show up for each other as the relationship grows because they never address any of that. And it's just
Mhm.
like, y'all, you have to address the small
It's
cuts but
true.
until it turns into until it metastasizes and turns into something that becomes too big to deal with.
It's true. And that scene also, like, now that I'm thinking about it, what you just said, like, it has a throwback tie to, like, the tuna melt in a way, where, like,
Mhm.
Ilya's trying to feel Shane out about, obviously, sexuality and, like, his
Yeah.
relationship to women and all of those things, but not really saying it. And
Yep.
that's, like, exactly what this scene is doing, where it's like, "Hey, like, this is a big step for me to come to the cottage, I guess, and, like, be with you in this space, and, like but doesn't mean as much to you as it means to me
Yeah.
because, like,
Yeah.
I'm ready to meet your parents yesterday." But,
Right,
like, "Is
right,
this where
right,
you are?"
right,
I don't
right,
know, like
right. And then Shane, like, having penetrative sex with Ilya and then going no contact. It's like, did that mean as much as I thought
Yeah,
of it?
yeah,
They really
yeah.
are having, like, the same internal argument about
Always.
these things. Always,
They're
always, and
talking
it
about the
just
same thing, and they want the
all
same
the
thing,
time,
and it's
all the
never
time, all the time, and they file these things away and
so
let it
annoying.
inform their actions instead of, like, actually addressing it and talking about it, which
Yeah.
why? Why?
It's
Why?
so and I'm glad that honestly is probably one of the most if only I would think the, miscommunication moment in the cottage, at least specifically, but I
Yeah.
do think, like, that in itself was just kinda, like the fact that they chose for us to sit on that as, like, the ending moment of that scene, I've always just been like, "Well,
Yeah.
what does that mean? What
Yeah.
is
Because
it?"
they held I mean, he held the camera there for a
It
bit.
was
Mhm.
held,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
The camera was just like,
It was,
"So,
right up in
I
his
needed to
face.
know what was going on."
Right up in his face, and then you know what? Ilya filed that away, he moved on, as
Sure
they
did.
always do. I'm just like, their ability to compartmentalize should be
Um,
studied.
No,
It should be
it's
studied.
perfection, and especially Ilya, where he tries different ways to get to the same answer.
Mhm.
Because what was the scene
Yeah.
after that? They're at the fire, and then,
Yep.
like, it just moves on. I don't
Yep.
know. I just
They just move on.
uh,
Me, we gonna talk about it,
I'm
but
like,
that's just me.
"Hey, so what you just said about your parents
What does that mean, actually? You don't
and
want me to
hey,
meet them?
that's why this was my question, honorable mention, because I had questions. I literally afterwards was like, "I'm sorry, wait, we're moving to the fire pit? I'm not done with
Exactly,
that
and
person."
you know who else should have questions? They should. They should have questions for each other, and they don't, which is the problem. That's how we got here, y'all.
Well,
Frustrating.
anyway, this was our questions about Heated Rivalry after season 1. Very curious to know if you all have questions because
Yes.
I'm sure y'all do, and we would love to discuss them. And also, if you have answers to some of the questions we had,
Please drop them in the comments, please.
please,
In the words
because
of Ilya Rozanov.
especially for some of we just been talking about them between the two of us for like 6 months, and we just need other people's opinions and thoughts. And y'all are
We
so
do.
smart. Like I know y'all
Yes.
have answers, but please.
Yes. So chime in down in the comment section, like, subscribe the video, and we will see you guys on the next one. Bye.